Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Hughes and I took personality this semester. And as an assignment, we had to read an autobiography by any individual we chose, and then we had to compare that individual to a theorist that we learned during the semester. So for my individual, I chose Rainn Wilsin. He is most known for his character Dwight Schrute on NBC's The Office. His novel is called The Bassoon King, Art, Idiocracy, and Other Sordid Tales from the Band Room. So I chose him after looking for an individual for what seems like forever, and he actually popped up on Amazon out of nowhere, and I loved his character on The Office, so I decided to read his novel, and it was a great read. So some facts about him is that he actually grew up in Nicaragua with his father and his stepmother. They stayed there until he was about 5, and then they decided to move back to the United States just so he could get a good education. So him and his family, they grew up, and he actually still practices the Baha'i faith. And he went to NYU for college, and he majored in theater. And he actually got the role on The Office on a whim. It was just a random audition that he took. And he says that it's his best role, and he actually has always identified with like misfit characters. So that's why he says that he's done so well. So I feel, after reading this novel, that Rainn Wilsin most identified with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs and is actually pretty close to being self-actualized. Becoming self-actualized, there are 15 characteristics that an individual can reach or like relate to, and I feel like Rainn Wilsin is pretty much there. If not, he may have one or two that he hasn't quite reached yet, but he's very close. So as an example, he is acceptance of self, others, and nature, and by this I mean, like him, as I stated, he's always identified with misfits. So is his wife. She's a bit unique as well, but through his entire novel, he just writes about how much he loves her and wouldn't change her for the world. And Maslow states, for acceptance, self, others, and nature, that self-actualizers are able to observe reality more clearly, and they are able to recognize human nature for what is rather than what they would like it to be. Just as they accept themselves, they accept others unconditionally. So Wilsin married a quirky woman and honestly never tried to change her into anything that she's not. And just like he identifies himself as quirky, and he would never want to change himself, he would never want to change her into anything that she's not. So another example would be his spontaneity, simplicity, and naturalness, which is defined as self-actualizers live authentically, without superficiality or pretense. They often behave in unconventional and spontaneous ways when revealing their thoughts and emotions, but never intend to hurt or harm themselves or others. They do not allow rules and regulations to stop them from achieving their goals if they deem these rules tribal. So, as I've stated, Rainn Wilsin has always been open about his quirkiness and has known that he's a little bit different. Even from when he was younger, he was into Dungeons and Dragons and never kind of played by the normal mainstream rules, which honestly made for a great actor and director. Anything that he's done is a little outside the box, which is interesting as well. So I do believe that this theorist was the best for Rainn Wilsin. And even though I have really only read a bit of his life, I do believe that if he has not already reached self-actualization, that he is very close. He's had peak experiences. He has, the type of humor that self-actualized people have. He is creative, and he is, the democratic democratic character structure. And I mean, he fought his way up through the hierarchy. Like, there were times in his life where he was knocked back down, but he always got back up. And I think that he is very close to becoming self-actualized. And, just by reading this novel, I can tell that you could see that he is a really nice human being and he does his best. So, thank you for watching.